Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to get that boho look that you like when you look at other people's journals and work and you have a lot of trouble trying to figure out how do they get this. But especially we're going to do this in fabric because pretty much when we think of Bohemian we think of fabric. But you can also adapt this with papers. It will take a lot of collaging and a lot of color control, but you can do that. This example is like just a small signature or journal cover here that I made using a boho theme. And you could see that if you created these in advance, you could add that element to your journal covers very easily. This is just a simple piece of cardstock, and it opens up, and I turned up the bottoms and sewed around so they created pockets, and it just trimmed it with a little bit of torn paper there. You can or cannot, whatever you want, to embellish the insides. If I were going to fill this with a signature, I would probably do some additional work here in the back, but that I would not do until I know what the total theme of my book is and what kind of signature I'm putting in there. But today we're focusing on how to make this boho look. First of all, we have to realize that boho is primarily thought to be very, very colorful, and it can be subdued. It can be very earth toned, but most people think of Bohemian as colorful, a wild and unrestrained free spirit type thing. And so that makes it for me a lot of fun because there are no rules. I can put whatever I want together if I just keep in mind that I want a lot of color, I want a lot of texture and interest in whatever I'm using. So that's how we're going to start. When I start with Bohemian, I need most of the time to create a background. And by that I mean I create a piece of fabric by collaging it together, stripping it together, whatever I want to do. You can see these are bits and pieces. Some of these are very tiny, what I call confetti pieces. I don't throw anything away because they do add that textile interest. They do add depth perception to a piece of fabric work. There are all kinds of fabrics in there. There are cottons, there are linens, there are fancy little pieces, there are ribbons, there just anything that you want to put in there. Now, once I create a background piece, I look at it and I think, okay, what can I do to this now? Because that in itself is okay, and most people would probably stop there, but to me that's only a beginning. And so what I'm looking for now, much like this piece where I came in and added this piece here, this was cut off of a jacket, and it has a little bit of glitz on it, and that makes it really pretty. And so I thought this is what I need. So I have another piece here. It's raggedy, as you can see. You could actually use either side of this. I'm going to use the front side, and you could just kind of see, audition it. How would it look on this piece? Okay. I like it kind of like that because it does allow a little bit of the elements that I already have on there to show. Okay, something like that. Now I would add this to it. I probably wouldn't stop there. I would find a couple of more things to add in, whether it's just some strings or just whatever, but I would keep adding until it feels right to me. When it comes to designing, an artist or designer can't tell you where to begin or where to stop, because it's just something they do. You grab a piece and you begin. If you don't like how it's working out, you throw that aside, you grab another piece and you begin. Beginning sometimes is the hardest because people want to be too structured. They think that that beginning has to be right, but it doesn't. If you don't like it, you can chunk it. But most beginnings, even if they're wrong, by the time you keep adding to it, they become a right. And so that is the process of designing, process of art. It's just something that you do and you do and you keep adding to until it feels done. And I use the word feel because that's how it works for me. There's no law, a principle. It has to feel done. The composition, the color, the completeness has to feel done. With this one, it felt done when I was finished to this point. Now, someone else may think, okay, that's too much. Someone else may think, oh, that's not enough. But that's why we have so much diversity in design and art, because we want to do it according to what our feelings are. That's our style. So put something together. If you're working in fabric or you're working in paper, collage something together and then find you a focal point to add to that. Don't be picky about covering work up that you've already done. I mean, that's okay. And continue to work with it until it feels done to you. Now, another simple thing that a lot of us may have is this trim right here. I'm not even sure it's still available, but if it is, I'd certainly get some because I've used a lot of this in my Bohemian theme designs because it lends itself to weaving. Let me show you what I mean. This is a piece that has been weaved through this. You can see some of the parts of it as it's in there. A lot of it is covered, of course, but it is so much fun to weave your different fabric pieces, trims and threads and whatever you have, just to weave them through there, okay? When you get done weaving, make sure you leave raw edges off the end of the piece of this, whatever you call this, so that it doesn't have that showing on the ends. Then what I did when I got through to secure everything was I just put a piece of burlap on the back, canvas material on the back, and sewed around the edges, catching the edge of that in a starting piece. So everything is very secure, and it would make a really nice piece for embellishing a book in a Bohemian theme, whatever you wanted to use it for. If you took it like this and then sewed some torn fabric to the end, you could do the fabric type wraps that I do, and you would have 2 wraps, and you could come over and tie your knot. But isn't that pretty? Isn't that interesting and unique? It's one of a kind. Nobody else is going to have exactly the same thing that you just created. So I hope that gave you a little inspiration and a little idea of where you might begin to create your own Bohemian style junk journal embellishments and ephemera. Thank you for being with me today, and continue to create creatively. Bye-bye.